All right, I think it started. All right, hi there. My name is Greg. Um, I'm an electrical engineer. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering. I'm a senior level engineer for my full-time job. And I've also been consulting for the last 3 years. So, um, done a lot of stuff from automotive to consumer to medical, wireless design, all this, um, all different fields. But today I want to cover kind of more Altium tutorials. Um, they've been a really good company to me, so I want to make some tutorials to kind of show some real use cases for their software. Um, so this will be the first video one for my tutorials, but also for library. This category is libraries for this one. So let me pop open the screen setup. So here we go. All right, so we open up Altium. I have Altium 19. I'm all logged in. Everything's good. So libraries, there are three different ways to get libraries. The first one is the Altium Content Vault, which is this explorer here. To connect the Altium Content Vault, you have to, well, I gotta start project one. So let me make a new project real quick. Um, new. So look at the Altium. I'll come back to Altium Vault in a second. Up here, when you go to create a new library, there's three options. There's an integrated library, the schematic library, and the PCB library. The integrated library can house a schematic and PCB library or multiple schematic and PCB libraries all in one spot. So what it lets you do is basically create the integrated library and then save it and install it. So you point a path to it and it pulls in the schematic library and PCB library automatically for you. So it's kind of a release the library functionality there. A schematic library obviously hosts all the schematic stuff, so it has your symbols, your designators, any kind of BOM fields are all in the schematic library. Any kind of manufacturing data that we'll get to, and then a link to the 3D or the footprint model. The PCB library obviously has your footprint as well as your 3D integrated model. And yeah, that's what kind of builds up an integrated library. So I go here and I make a new integrated library. And I add schematic and PCB library. Okay. So if I go to preferences, I always have to look through this for a minute to figure out where the actual connection is. Servers, sign in, publishing. Well, it used to be you had to click and actually connect the vault. And now I think it might actually do it for you automatically. See it in here. Okay. Anyways, so what happens is sometimes your Explorer's not down here to start with, so you might need to enable the Explorer. This is usually done in panels. Strike 3 models. Never mind. The quickest way to get there is really just type in Explorer. There is a panels option around here somewhere. I don't see it right this second. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so panels, Explorer will be your main hub. And what that lets you do is essentially grab pre-release parts in Altium. So to start with, if I searched, say, 10 microfarad cap, so they'll go through and search. And now it doesn't have everything, like every manufacturer uploads their data in here, but a lot of them do. And so what it gives you is these revision IDs, which are released parts from the manufacturer. If you click on one, it'll show you some values, life cycle stuff, part choices, so different manufacturers for the same part, where they're used, and kind of revision history. So if you find the part you're looking for in the Explorer, what you can do is do right click, hit place, and then you can place it on your schematic to actually use the part, and it's all said and done. Usually when I'm going to create or use a new part, I'll check this library first before I go to create anything. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes the linkage, like the manufacturing data and everything in here, isn't the greatest, but it works usually good enough. Okay, so that's the Altium Content Vault. So that's for off-the-shelf parts and everything. Now, let's say you couldn't find a certain resistor. Let's say, I think like on DigiKey, a lot of stack pull isn't carried here. So how do you make a schematic here? So we know the universal symbol for a resistor, this little squiggly, this guy here, little squiggles. So if I wanted to make that, come to schematic library. When you come in here, it has a blank component for you. You can use that. You can add a new one. I'm over here in the schematic library panel on this side. I believe it's kind of the same setup as, yeah. So schematic stuff's here. It's in the same panels as schematics. So if I hit P and then hit P again, I can place pins. And when you're placing pins, the one important thing is you want to set the grid correctly so everything lines up well afterwards. I generally do 100 mils, which you can see down here. So I use 100 mils for most of my pin spacing and everything, and then sometimes I'll do different spacing for like drawing the shape when it doesn't matter. But my pins are always on 100 mil grids just to make the wiring easier. Alright, so now when you have this part here, you can hit tab at any time to modify any of the properties here on the right. What else? When you're looking at this, when I'm moving this around, you can see in this, where my arrow is, the actual little X here, that's where the wire connects. So you want this side to be facing out to where the wire connects. Now on resistors, I don't really care about the name. The length, I usually set like 100 as well, wherever you want though. And I hit spacebar to rotate. So I'll set this out here, hit P and then L for line. And this is where I'm going to do a custom grid. So if I hit grid, or I hit G, change my grid from 100. So here's 100. You see the little crosshair jumps. This is 10. So it's every 10 it can hop around. This is 50, so a quarter what it started at. So I'm going to do 10. And I'm going to try to draw a nice shape. Now a lot of people do change colors, the pin and the shape here, so I'm going to change my color here real quick. Let's see, so I'm at 3070, so I come down here and do 70, 60, and do like right there. I'll do one, copy it, paste it, and then I'll just finish off the end. Not a perfect resistor here, but good enough. So now I have my schematic. On the right over here, I can modify this. So if I have, actually, let me pick a stack pull number real quick. Or a resistor in general. I guess it doesn't have to be stack pull. Here you are. This is the one we're going with. We're going to do a 0 ohm jumper. So I'll copy that part number. I'll make that my design ID. R's are designated to resistors. I usually hide the comments because they usually auto-populate them. That's not what I want to show. I have a certain format I use, which is resistor, the resistance value, the tolerance, and the size. Just guessing the tolerance, and the tolerance is going to be 0 though. It's a 0 ohm jumper, so 0402. So 0 ohm, 0442. Alright, so this is what kind of pulls into my bomb over here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but alright, so besides that, I have this parameters here. This is where you can put things in that you would like to use for your bomb, like manufacturer part numbers, manufacturers, resistance, any kind of parameters that might be useful. So you can go through and hit add, and you can add those in manually if you want. But I'm going to actually cheat. I prefer this method. If you go to that panel again, panels, there's this components panel here. You open that up, or not components, I lied, hold on. Manufacturer part search, which makes a lot more sense. Okay, so if I search that same part number I just had, it pops up with this manufacturer number. It basically tells you all the different suppliers, how much the cost is, what the inventory is. So really, really good information here. But if I right click it and hit add supplier links and parameters to this part number I named, it automatically pulls that all in. So I go back to my properties, it pulls in all this stuff for me to use. So I'll shut that off by default. I like my resistance. For resistors, voltage isn't that big of a deal. Maybe the size, the package, I guess. Case code. And kind of, like I said, like I mentioned, I like to be 100 mils. Mils, that's 100 mils. There. Keep trying to save, that's why it's popping up. Then I have a resistor. Manufacturer linked, has parameters, has a description. What else I need? Now I need a PCB footprint. Go to PCB library. Again, it created a empty part for us. And for something simple like this, I can create this with a very useful tool called the IPC Compliant Footprint Wizard. What that does is uses the IPC standard, which is a PCB design standard, to come up with the optimal pad based on whatever package you're looking at. So I pick a chip here, and there's a resistor, and I generate a step file too, so I automatically get a 3D model in there. If I go back to this part, series data, this spec here, I can say I'm looking at this 0402, this is a F. So I have these parameters right here. Drag this off screen so I can read it easier. Typing it. My length, I have 0.91. Generally, you want to do this in millimeters because that's where the most parameters are usually come in. A. E. Height. H. 4. You click this and re-click it, it'll rescale everything for you. So it comes up with the S value or the area between the terminals. You can verify or you can add your own. You can pick different fillet densities. I usually just do mediums. Tolerances is stacked up. Tolerance assumptions, courtyards. Pad dimensions that calculated, that's giving you. Silk screen line width, how wide it is. Courtyard stuff. And what I usually do is hit use suggested value and I come back here. Then usually I try to make it family based just in case it's something I can reuse over and over again for unique parts. So if I say stack pull and I say RMCF 402 resistor from PCB, finish. Well, this is what it spits out. So you have a resistor. It's not polarized, obviously. You have a 3D model of it. Everything's pretty good. That's good. I come back here, and the last thing I have to do is link footprint. So you click the add footprint button down here. Go to, well, I'll save this for now. I mean, I don't need it for anything. Save a default spot. That. Save this. So now I go here, and now it'll pop up. I click this, hit OK, save it, And now you have a working chip. That easy. Maybe 5-10 minutes. Just hammer through it. Pretty easy. Now one question you might ask is, with the Altium content vault, why? There's another way you can do it. So in the Altium content vault, I always could just do this instead of where I could go through, basically pick a so say I want to do a capacitor, like this capacitor right here. This is a 1210 capacitor, so I could just take this capacitor, place it on my board, delete all the parameters, and just fill it in with my own information. Well, you can do that, and I've done that for designs too, for quick designing. Basically, this gives you a footprint, and you can just put your parameters in there. As long as your BOM lines up, it doesn't really matter. Now, the bad side of that is if you update one of them, it doesn't update all of them. So if that was in your library, it'd push the update across the whole board. The other bad part about it is in future designs, if you go to reuse that part again, unless you can find that in your old design, copy and paste it over, you have to do that fake out every time. So, for 5 minutes of effort, sometimes it's worth actually just making the part in your library, having it forever. Another tip or trick I've done before too is, say I have this part here, duplicate it, this, and I copy all these. Say I trash all the stuff on here, leave this, if I call this. So you can do this too, basically just make a generic part schematic symbol. So you have a generic schematic library. So that way every time you make a new resistor, you don't have to draw it again. You just copy this over, paste that on your new part. You have the same symbol for all your schematics. Kind of a neat trick. Now, if we go back to my library, this, that, say I have a new schematic, go to my components, and you can see just by having this library open, it adds it to the project. I mean, a couple different ways you can do it. Well, I guess it has a schematic sheet now attached here, that's why I can read it. But what you can do is basically install your integrated library now, and it pulls in the schematic symbol and the PCB stuff, so it's all linked. Yes, I don't really want to drag this one on too long. I think it's probably a good place to stop for now. So, appreciate you watching. Any Altium questions, feel free to post below. I know it's kind of a funky setup. I do stream on Twitch, obviously. That's what stuff is. So feel free to stop by and watch me. My username is Robotics0x57. You can visit my website at gregtronics.com. Reach out to me at greg@gregtronics.com for any kind of help, consulting needs, whatever you need. But yes, give me some feedback. I'll try to make some better videos getting out this series, and we'll get everyone trained up here on Altium. It's a great tool. I love it. So that's why I'm spending time doing this. So, all right, thanks. See you later. Bye.